Hello, friendly neighborhood nerds. If you want to hear interviews from industry pros, get first looks, and have access to endless comic content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell!
What's up, friendly neighborhood nerds? This is Judah Radd. I'm here with Robo Strange and Respawn. Today we have a very, very special guest. He is a comic book writer, filmmaker, playwright, director, and model based in New York City. Winner of 7 Glyph Awards, to include the 2018 Fan Award, Rising Star Award, and Best Male Character Award, 2019 Best Male Character Award, 2019 Best Writer Award, I can't speak today, Award, and Story of the Year Award, and the 2020 Best Male Character Award. The 64-page one-shot Isnana, the WERESPIDER, SHOWTIME is the 4th release of an ongoing series of graphic novels and one-shots. It's on Kickstarter for the next fortnight, so click the link in the description and buy yourself some cool shit to read. Or watch. Or watch this first. It's your life.
And for everybody who's not that means 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks.
Right,
That's
yeah.
right. Whenever I say fortnight, they're like, you mean the game? I'm like, no, I mean two weeks.
2 weeks.
Alright, Greg, so I was looking at your Kickstarter page. Firstly, what a fun read. I had so much fun reading this. I want to know because the main character's name, as Judah just mentioned, is Nana, the WERESPIDER, and it's such a interesting name. On the Kickstarter page that you set up, you said that your goal is to introduce audiences to folklore, mythological and spiritual figures from various Black cultures and beliefs. And Nana, to me, is the ancient Sumerian goddess of love and war. Is there any inspiration there? Like, how did you come up with the name Is Nana?
So a few people catch this, a few people don't. But he's based off of Anansi the Spider, who's his father in the series. And Anansi spelled backwards is Nana.
Okay, cool.
Dang.
Cool. Nice.
Well,
I've had
damn.
I've had a couple of people, they didn't realize it until they held a photo that they took of them doing a selfie. And then they flipped it, and they're like, wait a minute.
Oh my god, I figured it out. It's like that red rum thing all over again. So is that deliberate? Because when I'm reading it, I get the idea that the father figure and the son are kind of like yin and yang. Are they supposed to be the reverse of each other at times?
Yes,
Yeah?
because I definitely wanted to dwell a little bit on relationships between family members, and sometimes they're total opposites, but you get this wonderful pairing when there's a lot of love involved regardless and trying to understand each other and trying to grow with each other. There are some aspects with my own parents that we may not see eye to eye with, but that love is still there. We still have each other's back no matter what happens. And I wanted the same thing with these two. Anansi is supposed to be like this sort of almost selfish trickster who's always pulling pranks, and a lot of people don't like him. And I wanted Nana to be sort of like a very sweet, innocent, type of person, but at the same time, he gets certain traits from his father, but he just uses a lot of the knowledge that he learns from his father in a different way of trying to, figure out his own path. But at the same time, they're there for each other. You see them literally fight people for each other, and so on and so forth. And so that's been a lot of fun dynamic to play with.
Awesome.
I've read mostly Volume 1, and you really see, like what you just said really hits home when you look at the whole fight with the leopard god, and that whole bit right there where Anansi is trying to get him
Sibo.
to,
Sibo, yeah.
Oh, Sibo, yeah. And he's trying to get him to do hey, okay, fine, if you got to do it, but do it this way. And the son is like, nah, I'm gonna do it this other way. But they kind of like had the same goal, so it was kind of dope. So I hate that I've only heard of Anansi, that I didn't hear of Anansi prior to American Gods. How much did that book influence your writing here?
Well, I actually learned about Anansi years before American Gods and Anansi Boys, because I feel like a lot of us, if we grew up on, there's a station here, PBS. Do you guys have PBS, right?
Mm-hmm.
PBS, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like growing up. It was one of our favorite channels. It was very educational, and sometimes we'd have. I think it was Reading Rainbow had some special with Anansi,
Oh
and
wow.
that's how like
I remember that
about it.
episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And growing up, so sort of like I would know a little bit about Anansi, but I realized not that many people, especially black people at the same time, unfortunately didn't really know, unless maybe their parents or grandparents sort of told them little folklore stories if they were from the Caribbean or West Africa and so on. But aside from that, it seemed like not too many people were knowledgeable of Anansi or any other black gods or deities for that matter. And so when I first read American Gods and saw that Anansi was a character, I was like, yo, this is cool,
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Because at the time I haven't really seen too many interpretations of him outside of, hearing some folklores and stuff like that, and seeing how he was depicted on the TV series. He was a lot more radical and a lot more angry, and I was just like, I love this, But aside from that, there wasn't too much. I wouldn't say I was influenced at all by Neil Gaiman's version or Orlando Jones's version, but I feel like a lot of my version still is from like the actual myths that I've been reading. But I love seeing different interpretations of the character, regardless.
That's dope. And you're gonna see similarities because you guys are both using the same source material, the same source mythology. So that makes sense. All right. So us three, we were talking not that long ago about how we're kind of ready for some other stories. You know what I mean? Like everything is Eurocentric, whether it's the Greek myths or the British myths, right? So it's so dope seeing like more come out, especially coming out of Africa. You said you spent time in as a child in Haiti, right?
Yeah.
So when we're talking about like mythology across the Black diaspora, like how much in your story, and I know if we did a Venn diagram of Haitian mythology and African mythology, it'd pretty much be a circle. But the differences that come out of your experiences with Haiti, how much does that influence your work? Will we see anything like specific to Haiti in your work?
Well, Volume 2 has a couple of Haitian story figures that show up. You have Papa Legba, who's the god of the crossroads, and we have Timali Simboki, who were these sort of trickster characters in Haiti. And I have like a funny sort of history, I guess, with learning a lot of our stories, because a lot of the gods and people who are sort of worshipped in, say, like the voodoo religion, they're not really always looked upon very favorably by a lot of people. And we know why.
Sure.
Hollywood has messed that up. Colonialism has messed that up. And when I first started to learn about some of the deities in Haitian culture, I asked my mom. She's the first person who's around me, and my mom was like, "We don't talk about that, absolutely."
Yeah, right.
Wow.
And I asked my pops, and my pops was the total opposite. He was like, "Yeah, I'll tell you everything you want to know." And so it's always been like a fine line of trying to figure out where things were when it comes to a lot of the Haitian folklore stories and the mythology and spirituality, because there's a lot of people who still worship and follow, and so there's a lot of me trying to understand and be respectful with those beliefs, because I think they're very beautiful beliefs, and I would love to be a sort of like at least one voice to try to showcase a lot of the beauty that's in there, and a lot of it is very bastardized, unfortunately, and I want to remove that feel that a lot of people have this negative connotation that they have of this belief system and the spiritual figures.
That's awesome.
Well, the way it's like exploited and almost like appropriated for entertainment value in so many, in like Hollywood and other comics and stuff. Like it's cool to see you kind of bring it back home and like showing it in its best light, the way it, based on what it means to you.
Not just for horror films, yeah.
Cool. Right. Yeah.
And I love horror. That's the thing. I love horror, and I always have this sort of
conflict,
love-hate relationship when they start to use a lot of African spirituality, and I usually clap when they use the African spirituality as a way to like sort of battle whatever
Mm-hmm.
evil that they go, and it's
Mm-hmm.
not used as the actual source of the
It's like a
horror that's
boogeyman.
Lovecraft,
exactly.
Lovecraft Country. Just I don't know if you caught up. I don't want to ruin it. Are you caught up on Lovecraft Country?
Episode
Man,
3.
They just did it.
That was great.
That was dope. So yeah, if you haven't seen it and you're watching it, go see it. It's already spoiled. Great. So what? So last thing that I got, and then we'll move on to the other questions. I won't bogart the whole thing, but so I just want. So the book volume 1 starts off right, and by the way, just for those listening at home, this is for a Kickstarter. That's the 4th volume. I'm apologize that all of my questions are volume 1, but hey, I got the man in front of me, so I gotta ask these questions. So it's
If anyone's reading it, they should start from volume 1 anyway.
Oh,
It's
100%.
worth it. Yeah.
100%. It starts off with a comedy routine, right? It's an individual. He's just wrapping up his gig, and then we go into like the web and Anansi and his son talking back and forth that you figure out. I didn't get the connection with the comedy scene. Like, who is that? Why is that important? Tell me. Like, I need a cheat sheet.
All right, do you got volume 1 in front of you right now?
The what?
Do you have volume 1 in front of you right now?
Oh, I would have to open it up. I mean, I can get it open. Yeah,
I've got it. Go ahead. Blow our
right.
minds.
we're gonna put in post edit. We're gonna put it up on the screen. So whatever you say, people will be able to follow.
I want you to look at the details of that scene and look at his shadow.
Oh my god. How did I not put that together?
Damn it! Now I need to. But all right, when I edit this, I'm gonna do it.
There's been like 2 times already in this interview where we've just been totally schooled.
But it's like it's not even. It's worse. It's worse because it's like right there in front of your face. Like,
That's right.
are you?
It's actually,
are
if
you
you look at it in a mirror, it's backwards.
what's the shadow? Help me out.
The shadow is a tarantula, I guess, or
Okay.
a spider arachnid.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah.
So what do you think that's telling you?
Oh. Is that another member of the family?
So not even just that, but you see somebody who's actually watching him, right?
Yeah.
There's a guy, and then go to the second story, the backup story of the book.
Oh, the epilogue where it goes into the origins.
Exactly, and then you'll see that man again, but this time he's with a particular character.
Ah, there you go.
I'm gonna read this book twice now.
It
Man.
seriously is. I feel like when I had a look through it, even though we didn't spend as much time as I would have liked on it, it definitely is one of those reads where you uncover things every time, like new things every time. I was definitely noticing different. There were some full page spreads, for example, which had like web design in them. But then they also had like shadows of arachnids, and like there's so much detail in this series. Everyone should scour it and tell us what you find that we didn't find.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot, obviously.
That's super dope. That's super dope.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. There's some things that this is not the first time I heard this question. I even read a review where one of the cons was just like, I don't understand why this pointless scene was there.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, shit.
I wasn't even upset. I was just like, this is hilarious. But there would be times when people message me, it's like, dude, I got it. I see what you're talking. And I'm just like, okay, good. So I actually sort of enjoy those type of things. It's sort of like maybe like a David Lynch type of thing where you have to watch multiple times
Yeah.
to figure out certain things. That's always been. I've always enjoyed a lot of those type of forms of storytelling.
Okay.
All right.
So Greg, was this your question or mine, Robo?
We're talking about no, this is good. I was just gonna say I'm done feeling dumb right now, so it's your turn. Go ahead.
I was wondering, because some of my favorite characters from this series are the Silencers, and you mentioned that you were inspired by former students, and I'm wondering like what you used to teach and what those characters represent to you.
Well, I'm actually I'm a film teaching artist. I teach video production, and sometimes I'll teach podcasting.
Hello.
And and so I've been teaching for about, I'd say, 8 years now, and I teach
Wow.
for very different organizations. And one of the very first ones that I taught, we had students from all over who was into so many different types of art fields, and we were in one particular location, which was like a whole, it was like a whole floor of just art. You know, if you wanted to do music, you can go to the studio, make some music. You can go to the video area. You can go to the dance area, and so on and so forth. And then you had a lot of kids, if they didn't want to be doing video at that day, they could just go to a different section, you know. And
Wow.
so, but there were a lot of my students. They would go all around that area or the school and just find things to record. And then there would be, sometimes we'd interact with some of the dancers there. And there was just this one particular group. It was like three or four of them. And they were just always wowing the crowds with their crazy dance moves, you know. And I hung out with them a couple of times, and I decided to make like a video on them. And it was, I need to find that video myself. Maybe I can show it sometime. But
Yeah.
Please.
yeah, it was just, and it's funny because I bumped into one of their moms a few months ago, and at a gallery that was a gallery opening for like a mutual friend. I didn't even know we knew the same person, and I was just like, your son inspired my next book. You know?
Yes. What an
That's
amazing
awesome.
conversation to get as a mother. Imagine that, like someone coming up and be like, "I wrote a book about your baby."
Yeah. That's cool.
That's
Awesome.
cool.
So I have full disclosure, I have zero religious beliefs. I'm an atheist, but I do find religions and people's beliefs to be super interesting, and my knowledge of voodoo tradition is incredibly limited. But I do know a couple things just because I read Shadow Man, which is kind of like what we were talking about before. But what I was wondering is Osibo the leopard a Loa?
He is not a Loa. And I love Shadow Man. That's one of my books, man. I love that.
That's
book.
great.
Awesome. Nah, but Osibo the leopard, he's actually an enemy of Anansi from the original Anansi tales.
Ah, okay.
And in the original Anansi stories, because you know he's a god of stories,
Mhm.
and he originally did that right from Naomi, the sky god. Naomi said, you know, I have three tasks for you to do before you can become the god of stories, and one of them was capturing Osibo the leopard. And so it's where Osibo comes along in my book because he still has a grudge from all them centuries and millennia time ago, you know, and this time it's like, oh, I'm gonna take it out on your boy, you know, type of thing.
Okay.
And so that's where Osibo comes in.
All right.
Okay, sweet. That's some rich material.
Yeah. So some of the other stuff, this is a bit of a clunky segue, so I apologize, but you've created some other series. So you've got a sci-fi series called Marasa, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Yep. And you've got some other works where you're clearly, across the board, you're fighting for more inclusion and better representation, particularly when it comes to people of colour and the LGBT community. And that would probably weigh pretty heavy on me if I was in your position. I wonder what kind of things you consider when you're writing. Like, do you feel that responsibility on your shoulders?
I think for me it's more so in the sense of I've always wanted to see this, you
Nice.
know, because I grew up being a huge fantasy fan. I grew up on Hercules and Xena, like those were my shows, you know. But but the thing is, it was whenever it came to a lot of these fantasy shows that I enjoyed, there were hardly any black characters, and if they did, they were maybe guest stars and so on and so forth. And I remember when the Nebula character came on Hercules, who was played by Gina Torres. I remember just being wild because I was like, oh shit, I don't think I've ever seen a black character on the show, you know. And it's the same. I got into Buffy and Angel, and it was almost the same thing. We'd maybe get one black character, and so it was just for me. I just wanted to see more of us as the main characters instead of being the side character and so on. Because it's like we could be cool leads as well, you know. Why can't we get, you
Hell
know?
yeah.
And it was the same with LGBTQ because it's how often can you name an LGBTQ character who's like the lead of a fantasy. And I feel like now it's gradually sort of going to there,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still not there yet. You
Yeah.
know, and
Mm-hmm.
so I wanted, I want to be, I don't want to say I want to be the representative, but I want to be someone who helps, make that change. Have people become more comfortable in just seeing different people as the leads, as the heroes.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
that's dope.
Okay, that's good. So I'm gonna give you a sentence, and I'm gonna leave one of the words blank, and I want you to complete the sentence. If you love, weird segue. Okay, if you love blank, then you'll love my work. Okay.
Neil Gaiman.
Oh.
Okay.
Damn.
Nice.
Damn.
Yep. I actually
Cool.
can see that because I read his Graveyard book recently, which isn't a comic, but it has the same vibe that I got reading WERESPIDER, where it's like not horror, but it's horror-esque. It definitely has horror elements to it. Yeah. Yep.
Damn.
I
Dope.
could have sworn you were gonna say Spawn.
Oh yeah, we should talk about that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So the intro was cool because I love David Hine. I was like, whoa, David Hine is like writing the intro to this book. But it seems like you guys have a really close relationship. Could you be a little bit more specific about the Spawn influence on your work and like whether it's the McFarlane run or the I think it was like 20 issues that David Hine was writing or some maybe more than that. But yeah, how does that impact like your current style?
Well, I feel like Spawn was definitely the first comic book where I bought continuously. I got into comic books when I was in second grade, but I was always just buying random different books. I wasn't ever really following like the story arcs, back to back to back. And I remember, I don't even remember how I got into Spawn at all. I just picked up an issue and then I bought the next issue and I started buying all these back issues. And I love the crazy horror aspect. I love the art. And the mythology that they were building as well, especially using a lot of Christianity for a lot of their core backdrops. I thought that was just very fascinating. And I think when I started focusing on a lot more of my writing, I enjoyed the way McFarlane was sort of crafting a lot of his stories, and I just thought it was just very fascinating, and I was also mixing some of the stuff I was enjoying for like Buffy and Angel, and like I just love that whole building your own mythology, in like a very fantasy horrorist type of thing, and I started to become a David Hine fan when he was writing District X, and
Okay.
I was just like, because I'm a huge Bishop fan, so when I saw a Bishop book, I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I started seeing other works with Hine's name, and I was just like, oh, I love District X, so let me see what else is he doing. And then I was just like, yo, I love this guy. So when it was announced that he was writing Spawn, my mind was like, yo, I got very excited, and from there it was like we met on the message boards, we communicated, and then that became like a online friendship type of thing, and I sort of call him a bit of like a mentor at this point. He definitely helps me out with any questions I have of the comic business. He's been helping me for years. When I finally met him face to face, I was definitely a nervous wreck, but I don't know if you could tell. I was trying to be as cool as
Probably.
But I've learned a lot from him, even just from reading his work. A lot of the things that he writes, they pretty much go hand in hand with already the style that I've already was developing with myself when it comes to storytelling.
That's pretty cool. He's been around for a long time. I remember his X-Men run. It was a long time ago, but I remember, or maybe it wasn't that long ago. It just feels long in my mind. But yeah, it was good, and yeah, he's pretty cool. I would like to meet him too. So you are a busy man. You're creating comics, but you're also acting and modeling. I mean, as a world-renowned nose model myself, I don't know if you can tell. You've probably seen this in various magazines.
You're an idiot.
But, I know how difficult it can be to balance multiple passions. Is it a juggling act? How do you kind of how do you manage all of it? Coco wants to know.
I haven't done any films or acting in quite a while, but whenever I have some friends that I usually have some friend that tries to pull me back in. It's like, I need you for this role. So I'm just like, all right, I'll do it.
Like the old Bristol detective, like, I gave that up a long time. We need you back.
I'm pretty sure I've said that before too, but a lot of it is just balancing, because I've been busy for years and years, so I learned how to balance everything while also trying to find some time for myself, some self-care, and a lot of it is just trying not to stress out as much as possible, because once I stress, it sort of things just start becoming very overwhelming, and so it's understanding like, okay, I will get this done, but you just gotta give it its time. You know, and it's just, and I'm involved in so many things, so many different odd jobs that I have. But there are times where I do have to tell myself, breathe, chill, go to sleep. You know, like it's still here.
Yeah.
Like, it will still be here.
That's cool. That's cool.
It's kind of like that for us too. Like we all have normal jobs, but we're also doing this show like 3 or 4 times a week. We're just on a kick doing this show. But yeah, I get it. It's like sometimes you got to like force yourself to just slow down.
That's awesome.
Speaking of not, say what?
No, go ahead.
Speaking of not slowing it down, what can you tell us about what the future holds for you creatively? Short-term plans, long-term plans, anything like that?
I want to keep creating more books. You know, that's always been my dream. You know, since I was in first grade, was always to write. You know, and I made a sort of deal with myself when I was in my 20s. I'll be damned if I reach 30 and haven't published something. And so I had done that. I think it was maybe 2 years before I turned 30. So I was just like, okay, yes, I
got it.
Right.
So that's been my sort of goal, is just to keep on going my writing and improve as much as I'm trying to understand my craft as much as possible, you know, and I feel like everything that I do is just to help supplement that.
That's dope. So before we let you go, I wanna give you an opportunity. I know when you look at the Kickstarter, and you know you got the whole blurb there and all, but straight from your mouth, whether the people watching have never read any of your stuff or they're already fans and they want to know what to expect out of Showtime, go ahead and give a pitch before we close up here. Why should people buy this?
All right, so None of the WERESPIDER is based off of the stories of a non-city spider from West Africa and Caribbean folktales, and my character is his son. It's the two of them trying to stop these creatures from causing chaos and trying not to drive each other crazy at the same time. And what I'm trying to do with this series is use it as a way to introduce people to more Black mythological gods and heroes, because in various cultures, well, pretty much we're not really educated in school on a lot of them. It's usually European fairy tales and mythology and so on. So as the series goes on, they meet and interact with characters with various Black mythology, spirituality, and stories. And in Showtime, he comes across a Impudulu who is from South African mythology, and at the same time, the book also goes into hip hop culture, which in a sense is Black stories and Black culture in a way. So kind of gets to dwell a little bit into that culture and meet a couple of urban kids, and just learns how to be a kid instead of being a fighting demigod that he is all the time.
Right on.
That's awesome. Hey, that's all we got with Greg Anderson-Elysee. Thank you so much for giving us some of your time. If you like what you've heard here, check the description. We'll put all the links to the Kickstarter and where you can find the rest of his work. You guys take it easy, and don't forget to wear your mask.
Because you want to and not because of the threats. Thank you for watching Judah, Robo, and Ree. We talk about comics, movies, and TV. Sometimes we have notable guests, and sometimes it's just us. But we're all so cool.